Okay, go.
My documentary is all about America in the 60s, so it's about kind of the politicians, the activists. You got your JFK, your MLK, your Cassius Clay. You got all the big icons. Pardon?
MLK.
Yeah, Martin Luther King.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's Martin Luther King Day today, actually.
Today?
Yeah, today. Found it on Twitter. I digress. On Twitter.
Oh, carry on.
It really focuses on kind of like the students, the Summer of Love. Focuses, first of all, it's 2 hours, so it focuses a lot on kind of like the activists kind of standing up to the politicians because of Vietnam. Because at the time Vietnam was this war that everyone thought was pointless. So it talks about kind of like Cassius Clay, how the fact that he avoided the draft because he thought it was pointless and he nearly got arrested for it for 5 years. It talks about kind of like how JFK's brother got assassinated. It talks about kind of like the massacre in Mexico, in which kind of like the media kind of covered up. Because like also with the Code of Conventions, it had kind of like one that when he was talking about the massacre, it had kind of like music, like sinister tone music to kind of like emphasize its point.
Oh, okay.
Also, the Codes of Conventions also talk about kind of like this expose. Yeah, it has narration.
What was it trying to uncover if it was an expose? What was it investigating?
Well, it was kind of talking about kind of like the 60s and kind of like the politicians. It's talking about kind of like how it changed a generation, because in the 60s everyone was wanting their rights. Women were wanting their rights, gay people, blacks, disabled. Everyone was like kind of standing up to the government about kind of Vietnam in a way. It also talked about kind of like how the police were brutal against, like nowadays you get like corrupt police officers taking down taking down kind of like people who were rioting. It kind of was happening back in the 60s, so it's kind of, we haven't evolved much more.
What's your own critical comment on how well it handled the subject of the Codes and Conventions?
It had a balance. The documentary itself was balanced because it had the politicians giving their biased opinions and the activists giving their biased opinions. So overall, it had overall it was kind of like evened out. But if you have one side of the argument, you pick which side of the argument you want. You either join the activists or you join the politicians. So it's obviously balanced in that sort of a way. It talks about kind of like, well, it kind of, like I said, Summer of Love, how everyone was kind of, how the students were kind of high, drugs started coming in, the Beatles, big icons, politicians a lot.
Okay, cool. So we've got a lot of content, some codes and conventions and some format. Right, questions. Got some more to say?
No.
Okay, because I thought you started repeating yourself. I thought, yeah. Sarah, question for Daniel. Sarah.
Would you say, was it impartial?
Yeah, in a way I was. Like, the narrator didn't try and give you his opinion, he was kind of just like down the middle when he was...
Did that work? Was it effective?
Pardon?
Was it effective use of voiceover?
Yes.
Impartiality?
So the narrator used standard English, so he didn't use any slang, like, because it was an American documentary, he didn't use any like American tailored word that only people from the US could understand.
Prakash.
Did you enjoy it?
Prakash, a question about formats, codes or conventions.
Okay. Did you had any performative?
No, it only showed. First of all, the interviews. All you saw was the interviews, narrators, and kind of like stock footage of the events. Because Vietnam, it was the first war that was televised, so that's why people thought it was stupid. First of all, they didn't like the reason, and they were seeing the kind of brutalness that was happening over there.
Good, good.
Also, have you ever seen that shot that the kind of like Vietnamese person
running away from Nick?
Yeah, and he's like, he's kind of like closing his eyes, like clenching his eyes, and someone's put a gun to his head.
Classic.
They actually showed you the footage of that, and it's really brutal. You just kind of shoot
Right.
him and he falls onto the floor.
Final question from Naomi.
How can you adapt those conventions into your own way?
What from this?
Yeah.
Well, it kind of, the Code of Conventions, like I said, it's expose, so it has a lot of like narration. It's like interviews. Probably I would talk about kind of like interviews, and narration is probably what I would use in Code of Conventions.
Well done.